In my last video, I presented my reasoning for why it is essential that firearm owners be able to lock up or disable their guns. Then demonstrated and discussed several different locking devices for the Remington 870 shotgun. I want to follow that up now with a video on disabling a firearm without a separate locking device, or an integrated one. This involves removing some critical component or set of components without which the gun cannot function. I'll get into this method's advantages, disadvantages, and applicability in a bit, but I want to first demonstrate two ways to accomplish this with an 870. The easiest way to do this with most 870s is to remove the trigger plate assembly. The 870's trigger plate assembly is a single, contained unit that does not require precision fitting during installation, so it can be removed and reinstalled quickly and easily without affecting its function. Make sure the gun is completely unloaded and the safety is engaged, then simply pop out the pins and remove the assembly. While the assembly is out of the gun, it's a good idea to stick the pins back in so they can be kept together and not lost. If your build has an accessory such as a side saddle or optic mount that replaces the trigger plate pins, or furniture that holds the trigger plate in place, removing the breech bolt and slide assemblies may be less of a hassle. Again, ensure that the gun is unloaded and on safe before doing anything. Remove the barrel and slide the forearm assembly out enough to remove the breech bolt and slide assemblies. Set those aside and reassemble the rest of the gun. Now, while these steps are specific to the 870, the concept itself is not limited to this gun or to shotguns in general. Many different types of long guns have similarly vital, yet relatively easy to remove components or assemblies. The bolt assemblies on bolt-action rifles, for example, are often designed to be quick and simple to remove and reinstall. So, how does this method compare to gun locks or locking containers? Well, in addition to not requiring a separate device, it's extremely effective. Locking devices and locking storage alike will yield an operational firearm if defeated, but a gun disabled in this subtractive manner is just a paperweight until the missing components are properly reinstalled. Folks who are unfamiliar with firearms, a common attribute among those who have no business screwing with them, will likely not be able to do this easily, if at all, and many small children won't even have the requisite manual ability. But before reassembly can even be attempted, the missing elements must first be located and retrieved. Unlike the bulky long gun in its entirety, these small parts can be effectively secured in a wide variety of locking containers that are less expensive, easier to accommodate, and more common than full gun safes. If even these are unavailable, there are still a plethora of ways to secure or conceal them. Of course, the extra time and effort required to reassemble the gun also applies to the owner. Compared to just removing a lock or opening a safe, reassembling the gun will almost always be slower and more involved. Very accessory-heavy, range toy builds can be particularly involved to take down enough to access a gun's critical action parts. Extra tools, time, and effort will likely be required. Optics and sights may need to be re-zeroed, and frequent disassembly and reassembly can cause accelerated wear, especially to lower quality aftermarket parts. So, disassembly may not be ideal for firearms that you need to access quickly or disable frequently, but it can be quite effective for dedicated hunting or recreational guns that spend a lot of time in storage. Also, some areas have laws requiring that privately owned firearms be stored in a partially disassembled state. If nothing else, this is simply a good backup method to know. For example, suppose you're on a hunting trip and you and your gun are staying at the home of an old college roommate who's fallen from the noble bachelor ranks and now has a whole passel of, let's be polite and say, rambunctious critters underfoot. The responsible thing to do, obviously, is disable your gun. But you forgot to pack your gun lock and your friend, who isn't a gun owner, doesn't have a full-size gun safe in the house. With the method I've shown here, you'll still be able to do the right thing and ensure that your firearm is not a danger to your hosts. As always, I hope you found this video helpful in some way. For a more in-depth discussion of when and why firearm owners should lock up or disable their firearms, I'll again refer you to my previous video on gun locks, and feel free to check out the other videos in the series if you haven't yet. If you have questions or thoughts on what I've covered here, please don't be shy about asking in the comments below. I'm also always open to input on how I can improve these videos, and ideas for future topics. Until next time, enjoy the shooting sport safely and responsibly, and please remember to support our community by being a positive representation of it.